in and help them, but remember, they're the main character. So you're going to answer the following questions. Super basic. What problem exists? The best way to think of this is, what does the world look like and what's wrong with it? So if you can be as specific as possible, that's going to be better for you. I've seen actual websites where people say, our customers have a lot of problems, and what we do is we bring solutions to help their businesses get better. What is that? Who cares? Everybody has issues. So what you have to do is be very, very specific about what problems exist. And then you're going to talk about what your product or your service or whatever your pitch is, what does it do to fix that problem? Again, be specific. I'll give you an example of this at the end. And then this is, in my opinion, the most important part. What does life look like after your client uses your product or service? So again, I'm just rehashing something Donald Miller said. A great one is sort of people getting their cars fixed. And what you're going to do is, instead of saying, oh, well, we fix cars, you want to, that's very my business centric. What do? I fix cars. What you want to do is you want to think about the person who has the issue that you're trying to serve. Okay. Let me put myself in the shoes of the customer who's going to come to my store. That person has a problem with their car. Already you're starting to make it more about them. And then if you can phrase that problem as specifically as possible, you can say something like, a lot of people who own cars have them break down frequently and do not know who they can trust to fix it well. You're getting as specific as possible about a problem that exists for a lot of people. And again, it's from their perspective. And then that's where you come in. Again, keeping them as the main character, you would say something like, a lot of people have problems with their cars and they have difficulty finding somebody to trust who can fix them. And that's where we come in. We fix cars, but the way we do it is by, these practices, or here's exactly how we do it that fixes the problem on the trustworthy side. Again, be as specific as possible. You could say something like, we regularly check, we keep somebody on staff who doesn't know anything about cars, and we constantly check in with that person to make sure they understand what's happening. So, again, be as specific as possible about what are you doing to combat those problems, and then what does life look like after the client uses your product or service. Everybody who works with us trusts us, they feel great, and have a lot of peace of mind when they go out for a drive. So again, this is going to take a lot of workshopping, but if you can focus in on this, this is going to be good. If you have pitches, I would be happy to. My Twitter handle is going to be at the end of this, and I just realized I forgot to include my email, but there's a web page I'm going to send you all that I will update with my email. I'm happy to give a quick read through over that stuff. I usually respond in about a week. Right now I've been responding about a week. I used to be faster, then I got very slow because of the pandemic, and now I'm back to about a week response time. So happy to help with anything, and I'll be as attentive as I can. But that's a good framework. Pro tip, this story framework works with pretty much any type of persuasion. I include this picture of my dog because my dog is excellent at this story type of persuasion. My dad will come to me. He's so good at begging. He does not jump up on you. He does not actually whine that loudly. He just stares at you and makes himself look as sad as possible. He conveys the problem. He's pathetic. He's going to die. He's malnourished. If he doesn't get pepperoni, it's over. And then the moment you give him pepperoni and you fix the problem, he's happy. He loves you. He'll cuddle up with you, but he won't until you give him the food. He literally will not accept a pet. Anyway, but this is information I give all the time to little kids, because the sooner you can stop saying, oh, I'm so sad. Well, Dad, will you give me this slice of pizza? And the sooner you can go, hey, Dad, here's a problem that exists. I'm hungry, but you can come in and you can help me. And afterwards, I'm going to be so good. I'm going to obey you, whatever. And it starts when you're a little kid, and it goes all the way up to anytime you're in a job interview, you're doing a pitch. Again, if you can really frame it through, what does life look like for you, the client or customer or whoever, what problems exist, and what does life look like after, how happy is it going to be, etc. You can use this in a lot of scenarios. So that's sort of the quick overview of the story stuff. And now I'm going to start talking about some of the principles I use when I make videos. This is me. This is a video I shot at home for my sister. On the left there, you're going to, on the left there, you see my home desktop, and on the right, that's a screenshot from a video I sent my younger sister. You'll see there's a lot of natural light spilling in from those windows, but when I was shooting, I was starting to get overblown, and I just needed to shoot this quick video. It didn't need to be anything fancy, but it just didn't quite look right. So I took that computer and I opened a new tab in Google Chrome, and I turned the brightness all the way up, and I sat next to this big display, and you can see on my sort of face and arm there, it brightened my face back up so that I was visible. Took me like 5 minutes and no extra money. But the thought process was, how do I make this work? And so with all the stuff you're doing, I guess what I'm saying is get creative. But there are a lot of ways that you can make something look really professional without actually spending a lot of money. And I cannot stress this enough. Nobody cares what's behind the camera. Nobody cares what it looks like behind the camera. Anybody who watches your video is not going to start going, wow, did they edit on an Apple computer or on a Windows computer? The most important thing is just do the best you can, get creative. And I have, this is not a joke, built Lego apparatuses to put like a camera on with little wheels so that it can move. Who cares? Nobody's ever going to see that. So do whatever you need to do. All right, keep an eye on time here. This is, if you'd like, I actually just this last week, I'd been working on this project for a while. It's a video I made for my little sister, Gigi. That's a couple tips on how to finish creative stuff because she had a lot of trouble like just getting things done. I mean, she had all these ideas and she was like, it needs to be perfect, it needs to be big. And she's 11 and I sent her this video. We'll circle back to this, but this is just something I put on the old internet. It's on my YouTube channel. There's a QR code there and I'll link to it at the end. It's like 5.5 minutes long. But this goes a little bit more into some of the principles of just getting creative things finished. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Like and subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Moving on here, just a couple other, these are just random tips that didn't really fit into a category. I usually take 10 minutes in my notes app to jot out a general flow. The more you can plan in advance, the easier it'll be to edit. This is sort of like this is just something you need to do a lot. The first time you make a video, it's going to take forever. The second time it'll take half as much time. And it really feels like every time it sort of cuts in half the amount of time it takes you. So the first time you do it, I recommend jotting out a little bit of a flow, film the video, and then edit. In that whole process, you're going to learn, oh, well, I should have been a little more specific here, or I spent too much time writing here. Again, sort of it is learned by doing, but I do recommend the more prep you can do, the easier it'll be. A bonus, depending on how visual of a thinker you are, using stick figures, simple shapes. This is never going to see the light of day, so it just is a note for you. You can sketch out thumbnails. I do this all the time. I'll just sort of like, just draw a little box and go, okay, I'm going to be here. And sort of the image of the thing is going to be here. And here's why with the title underneath. Again, it's literally just enough for you to be able to recreate it later. So don't spend a ton of time making it perfect. You can improv while you record, or you can write a full script in advance, whatever's best for you. I'm the kind of person who I like to put out a couple bullets and I just sort of talk about it and then create the video. Again, whatever works for you. Some people are much more comfortable, like the John Greens of the world, like to have a really crisp script that they read off from. Whatever works best for you to keep you most comfortable in front of the camera. In front of the camera, assuming you're in front of the camera. Whatever you need to do to script it out. Titles should be visible for as long as it takes you to read them out loud. That's one of the hardest things to do is pacing. Literally put it on screen. If you can read it out loud, that's usually enough time for most people to be able to read it in their heads. So just take a moment, read it. If you have enough time to process it enough to read it out loud, that's probably on screen for long enough. And then finally, this is a question I ask myself all the time. If your 12-year-old self watched the video, would they understand the language and would they get why it's important? So that's sort of two-sided. The first is, are you speaking clearly? Are you speaking in ways that everybody can understand? If a 12-year-old can get it, that means everyone can get it. And this is just something to keep in mind right now. You probably have 6 years more of education than a large portion of America. There are a lot of people who either never start high school, or their high school experience is just not as edifying as we would hope it would be. And so sometimes 6th to 8th grade is just the amount of information some people ever retain from school. And so just keep that in mind. Think about yourself as a 6th grader. That is, for a lot of people, the amount of information you need it to make in life. So, if you can sort of get by on that much information, a lot of people do. And again, it's a much larger portion of the American public than you'd think. So it's really, really good to be as clear and as clear as possible. And then the other half of it is not just language, but also why it's important. You are going to be hopefully pitching a project that you believe in, that you think is important. So you need to make sure that people also understand why it's important. And again, if you can think of that, sort of would a 12-year-old get why it's important, that's going to help you. So those are my quick tips. Now I'm going to just jump into some of the actual processes. Here are a couple different editing softwares. You just need to pick one, but you can try them all if you want, whatever's good for you. Adobe Spark, this is free. You have to make an Adobe account. You can do simple titles. You can do narration. You can do basic video editing. You can do it all online. There's a mobile and a desktop version. So if you want to do phone, iPad, or laptop, whatever's easiest for you, it's super easy to use. It also has easy graphic design and web design features. So you can also create quick web pages, and you can create quick graphics with Adobe Spark, sort of like Canva, or there are like a million of these, but I like Spark the most because the video, graphic design, and web design stuff just is pretty quick and easy. And that one's free. You just have to make an Adobe account. And again, I'm going to send you, I've got a web page at the end. I need to update it with my email and like tighten up a couple of other things, but it's all mostly there. All of this information is there. They'll send it to you. GoPro Quick. This one is, first of all, you don't have to own a GoPro, but this one is a bit more of like a hype video type thing. If you can picture like your Instagram travel type video, this is more of that. So it's a pretty quick, you can add titles, you can add music, you can string a couple of quick clips together, but this would be maybe a little bit better for like a product. Like Spark lets you tell a little bit more of a story. Quick would be more like if you just want to quickly show a couple of things with some hype. It's pretty easy to use. Mobile and desktop versions available. Also super easy to use. Probably easier to use than Spark. It's a little bit faster, but just a few less features. That one's also free. And then the last one, this is a really good one to learn, iMovie. This one's Apple only, sorry. But it does have some more in-depth editing. This one's also free, but it's got some more in-depth editing, narration slides, some more advanced features. This is like, if you learn iMovie and you like iMovie, that's a good way to know if you want to sort of cross the gateway into paid programs. So if you're like, oh, I see these people online using Final Cut or Premiere or whatever, iMovie is a great thing to crack open and try, because that'll tell you if you actually like some of the process of editing more in depth. Mobile and desktop versions for this as well. This one's a little bit harder to use, not that much. You can figure it out. It just takes time. That one's also free, but again, only on Apple. So if you've used all of those and you want to dive into something more professional, again, I would recommend make a couple videos with these first. But if you've got the time, you can jump into something like Premiere Pro. This is pro level software. This is what I use. It's got all the standard editing features, but it's got advanced color correction, audio tools, a million tutorials on YouTube where you can learn as much as you want. Desktop only, some supplemental apps, but again, you're going to want a computer to run Premiere. This one's advanced. Again, that's why I recommend doing the other ones first. It's included in Adobe Creative Cloud. That's a suite of creative apps that includes Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator, etc. So if you're thinking about doing more professional creative work, you are going to need to learn you're probably going to need to learn some creative apps in the Adobe suite. So if you're, I'm sure, I know some of you guys are already doing some work like this, but if you're thinking about it at all, I say go for it. Use the free trial or pay $20 a month after you've sort of maybe tried some of the other stuff. But it's $20 a month for students. I have to pay $50 a month, so take advantage of that while you can. And then there's Final Cut Pro 10. It's a pro level software, but I've never used it, so sorry. I can't actually recommend it or not recommend it, but a lot of people say it's great. The benefit to Final Cut Pro is you pay $300 once. I really like Creative Cloud, but to each their own. So that's another one to look at if you decide to jump into the pro level stuff. So those are all your video editors. The next thing is cameras. Just use your phone. It's going to be the best thing to do. It's as good as most cameras. If you really want to, you can dive into something. But again, I said just use your phone. I have one of these tripods. It was like $5 on Amazon. It's nice too because, like, not gonna lie, my selfie game increased once I got one. But yeah, grab one of these tripods. You probably already have one, and that's gonna be more than enough. If you really want to, this right here is, I think, I've used a lot of cameras. I think this is the best one for jumping into YouTube type video content. It's the EOS M series from Canon. I'll link this on the webpage. There you can get the M50 with a Rode mic from Best Buy for $650. That's like, again, try it out first, make sure you like it. But this is a good video content type producing camera for the price range. Yeah, if you have other questions about cameras, you're welcome to email me. That's a good one. Sound and audio. Okay. First off, don't use, unfortunately, I'm so sorry, don't use like songs from Spotify that you like. You're going to use something like YouTube Audio Library. This is free. I'm sorry. This is free music for commercial use. So, you know, just a quick overview. If you actually want to use professional music, you have to license it, etc. And that's a huge pain. And you probably will not have the $10,000 it takes to buy like an Imagine Dragons song anyway. So YouTube Audio Library has everything you're going to need. You can just, let's see. Yeah, some of the songs require attribution. You can hit, like there's this filter that says don't use songs that require attribution. So you can just see tons of music. It's pretty good. It's mostly from like DJs and content creators and musicians, composers. So you can get pretty much anything you need. Again, this is a really great starting point. There are places where you can pay for, you know, $60 for a song, but this is absolutely going to do it. It also has a small library of sound effects. So I'm so sorry. It is so much fun for yourself. I mean, edit your vacation videos to, you know, One Direction or whatever, or Harry Styles. Yeah, Watermelon Sugar, great album. Just full endorsement for Harry Styles and his Tiny Desk concert. Anyway, back to this though. YouTube Audio Layer is going to do it, and it's free. Audio recording. As something Star Wars has taught us is that you can record professional cinematic audio in your closet. So find a small carpeted space with a lot of cloth or soft objects. So yeah, again, the closet is great. Build a pillow for it. This is for if you're going to do like a narration recording after the fact. If you're just recording video out and about, don't even worry about this. But if you're going to take like pictures of a product and then record audio over top of it, this is how you're going to want to do it. It just makes it sound a little bit better. Most microphones are fine, like earbuds, a MacBook mic. I had a friend who recorded an album on his MacBook mic. Like seriously, it's going to be totally fine. I will, when I'm shooting with an SLR, I'll actually take like a phone and I'll set it to voice memos and set it near me if I don't have a mic on hand, because that records great audio. But optional and worth considering, refurbished microphones from Amazon. Those will be linked on the webpage I'll send you. And here are a couple of those. You can get a Lightning or USB-C lapel mic. These are good for mobile video because if you have like your phone on your tripod and you plug in and you clip the lapel mic to your shirt, it's all automatically synced up to the video. So you don't have to do any editing. You just have nicer audio if you use one of those. You can also use a Yeti or a Blue microphone if you're recording on desktop. So if you're using a laptop camera, they look like this. I bought one refurbished on Amazon for like $40. It is a step above that Lightning USB-C mic, but it's a little bit more work to use. Again, those are like $40 if you decide you like that. But if you get one of those, you can also like dive into podcasting if that's interesting to you. Again, all of this stuff, try it just with your phone first. You'd be surprised what you can do with an iPad and how good it sounds. The lapel mics are like $30 on Amazon. Desk mic is like $50. Those are all entry level. I have entry level. Entry level is fine, honestly, for almost all content. We're not making movies here. All right, so what if you like this? You make your video, oh my goodness, this is fun. I want to do more than just what, you know, I've been assigned at Startup Moxie. First of all, great, good job. I'm glad that you like things. Pretty much my first recommendation is just make as much stuff as possible. So remember how I said I sent that video to my sister about finishing creative stuff? She texted me back 2 days later, this. Oh, whoops. I'm so sorry, I killed my screen sharing. I'm so sorry. I'm 80 years old.
You're all good. We've gone through this with me. So I think you can reshare and you can, if it's in a Google Chrome tab, you can share that as well.
All right, I'll open a Chrome tab.
With the video.
Excellent, I will do that.
And then just there's 2 check marks at the bottom of that share screen. So optimize for audio, and it should be able to play to us when you share.
Let's resume share. We're going to do new share. I'm ready to do Google Chrome. Are we back?
Yep, we can see it.
This is a YouTube video my sister Gigi sent me. I bought her an iPad for Christmas. I bought her the cheapest one, and she has started taking the Procreate app, which is $10, and she made a YouTube channel where she does speed paints. And so this is how she doesn't even edit. She literally will go into Procreate and type out her titles. That's all I got. Let's see. See you in my next video. Stay safe. Ah, my heart. Let's see. I'll show you. Squirrel Panda is the name of her YouTube channel. Look at this. Look at this. This is top tier YouTube content. Also, she's really good, right? She's really good. She's 11. So the only reason I bring that up, I'll go back to Keynote now. Let's go. As I'm pulling my Keynote back up, The only reason I show that is because it's important, in my humble opinion, to just make as much stuff as possible. She's 11. Yeah, it's low quality. Yeah, it's just literally her on her iPad typing out titles. It's really NBD, but she's doing something. And honestly, I cannot stress that enough. It is important to just make stuff. So, and her stuff gets better every time she does it. So just make things. And also that YouTube video I sent you has a couple more tips for creating stuff. If you, as you're making things, if you like specifically YouTube type longer form video content, talking about things, maybe you're doing product reviews, maybe you're actually making like commercials and stuff. I don't know if anybody watches Danny Gonzalez. I'm an old man probably for watching like reaction content on the internet, but in my defense, he's my age. Anyway, Danny Gonzalez makes a ton of videos making fun of stuff on the internet, and he actually made this video that is linked to the QR code again on the webpage. It's like 15 minutes long, and it is a great overview of sort of a quick process of how to make longer form content. And he also shows a couple of he uses that M50 that I showed you. I have the much older version of it. The M50 is the most latest one, which is good. But he shows some of his process, some of his setup. Again, this is a good next step if you're making a lot of content and you decide you want to do like YouTube type. Again, not like super professional, like, oh, I'm gonna go make a movie, but like I just want to make longer form videos. This is a good tutorial. That is pretty much everything. You're welcome to tweet on Twitter and Instagram, DM me or at me, and I'm happy to respond to any stuff. I'm just going to throw those up. ZacharyTNelson.com/video-tools or that QR code, or I will also go ahead and post it in the chat, is the best place. I'm going to link all of the stuff that's from this presentation there. I think that's pretty much everything. Pretty quick and dirty, lots of quick little tips. So I have plenty of time for questions if anybody has questions or if there's anything that I need to sort of elaborate on. And also I have no idea how to facilitate
the chat. Don't worry, I can handle that from the back end. So I know we have a few people on the call, so don't be shy. You probably have the same question as at least 10 other people on this call. So I would take advantage of this now. You've got somebody who's made a ton of content, can give you a lot more tips. So I would definitely ask questions right now.
Do you think that like the amount of content you put out is better than quality, or because I know you said that content, like something entertaining, is better than quality, but do you think the amount of content you put out is better than quality?
I would say when you are first learning, to do as much as possible. So when you're first starting, I'm not sure that everybody would back me up on this, but in my opinion, one of the best things you can do is just finish things like as frequently as possible and put them up. Because there's going to be this, when you're like first educating yourself, there's going to be this gap because you're going to be looking ahead and you're going to be like, that person made this thing and I can't make it yet, but I want to. And it's like, he's here and I'm here and I just can't quite get there. So I don't want to put it anywhere. But that will get you stuck into this little loop of not finishing, which then stops you from improving. So I say when you start, again, I know the first slide was quality over quantity, but from an educational perspective, when you're first learning something, just finish stuff and put it places, put it places as much as possible. Eventually, you're gonna reach a place where that question depends more on your goals. So then my second answer would be, like, are you trying to be like an influencer? Are you trying to do social media work? Okay, quantity is really important, like to be posting regularly. So I do not post regularly. Like if you go to my Instagram, I posted like today and like 3 months ago. So again, that's not what I want to be or who I'm trying to become right now. But if you are, it is important to put stuff up every day. If you can, I know one person who can do both. I have a friend who is a cinematographer and he pushes out like 4 videos a week and every single one of them is magnificent. So if you can do both, do both. But I would say at first quantity and then later it depends on your goals and sort of figure out what you want to do and then do that.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi there, Zachary. I first want to go off and say thank you so much for your time. But I had a question. Is there a balance between like too much talking, especially when you're trying to create a video, or is it better like what's your perspective on that?
Could I ask a question? Do you know what type of video you're trying to create?
Yeah, like trying to push like a product or something in that is perspective.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're probably at the beginning, like more of like a commercial or like an explainer video introing somebody to the product for the first time.
Yep.
So I would say show, don't tell as much as possible. You're obviously going to have to tell people what you're up to and what you're doing, but the age-old screenwriting rule is show, don't tell, because anytime somebody says, and then my home planet was destroyed, it's like, okay, that's sad, but when you see it happening, oh my goodness, how much more impactful is that in a story? So I would say for the same reasons when you're making a product, if it's the best snowboard ever, show somebody snowboarding, right? Again, there's going to be a balance about, you do have to actually explain what's happening, but I would show as much as possible the actual features. And then, yeah, one more caveat would be at this point, since I think a lot of you are in a conceptual phase, I don't know if I'm right on this, but it's maybe a concept that you're still workshopping that you're pitching. So you might have to do a lot of talking just because, your product hasn't actually existed for long enough to have like a ton of examples. So, you might not have a lot to show when you're first starting out, but the more you can show, the better.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you have a preference of what type of platform you would use to best showcase your work? Because I'm trying to work on a portfolio right now and I'm not entirely sure where to put it.
Okay, what's the portfolio of?
It's just like a video portfolio of the different like videos I've done.
Videos you've done. I really like, well, I guess I'll have one more question. Do you know like who the portfolio is for, like employers, freelance clients?
Or like freelance clients.
Freelance clients. I would say I would pick between YouTube and Vimeo to start and build a solid page, that sort of has all of your stuff and you sort of keep curated. If you want to springboard off of that and build a website, Squarespace is a great tool for, like the web link I'm going to send you is my Squarespace website that I build pages on and send to people. Squarespace is a good tool if you want to take the next level there. But then if you're also hustling for freelance clients, I would say whatever you can keep updated and then what other platforms you can share it on. So I'll vouch for literally this is something I do. I keep an album on my phone of all my illustration work because I found the best portfolio is if I'm with somebody, what's the easiest way? Like right now, this isn't happening that much, but I will be out, for drinks with a friend. I'll meet another friend. They'll be like, oh, well, we're looking for this type of stuff. Can you send me a link later? But if I can pull up my phone and be like, here's, 8 things I did. It's all right here. I found that to be really useful. So yeah, I would say for video, start with YouTube or Vimeo. Keep that as like crisp as possible. And then whatever, just sort of figure out where people are, you could find people and have it as accessible as possible in those places. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi Zachary. I'm going through like your social media page and I'm noticing you have like a lot of like you have a lot of stuff you do, illustration, marketing, and video. Like what are you most comfortable at? Like what's the one thing, like do you have like any creative projects going on right now? Like
Sure. I springboard a lot. So this is a whole other presentation, but most people will pick a thing and be like, this is my career. Like, okay, my thing is illustration, and that's what I'm gonna do for my life. I just recently made the switch to working in sort of 6-month-long segments on projects. So I will sort of be a different thing during different periods. Now, again, this is not my career. My career is marketing. I do marketing and communications for the bus system. And I try and do that as well as possible. But for my personal creative projects, right now, I've been making a lot of YouTube videos for my sister. So I just posted the first one and I've got a couple more that I'm working on for her, but that's not going to be forever. That's going to be probably the next 6 months. So I do really, like I've done photography in the past, I've done illustration in the past. Again, this is all speaking about like what I'm doing for fun personally. If I were trying to build a career, I would maybe try and focus in more on it. But for my personal stuff, right now it's YouTube videos for my sister. But last year it was a lot of design and illustration, like sort of like children's illustration type stuff. So
do you do like any Fiverr stuff like that? Like
I hate Fiverr. I hate, this is just a freelance tip. If you make 20 things for $5, that's the same amount of money as if you make one thing for $100. So one time I signed a video project and it was like 5 videos and I got paid, I'm just gonna, cards on the table, I got paid 12 grand to make 5 videos. And it was a lot of work. It was like a 6-month project, but I usually get paid $400 or $500 to make a logo. And so I was like, I would have to do a logo, I can't do math, 25 times to make the same amount of money as this one project for a long period of time. So from like a Fiverr perspective, I just like, I basically sit on my hands and I make as much money as possible, or I do as well as I can saving the money. I make it my job and just living on that. And then when freelance projects come along, I'm pretty selective about them and I just take the ones that I'm most interested in, the highest paying. I'm also like, I've been doing this for, I've been making money doing creative stuff for a little over a decade. So I have that luxury now. I didn't 5 or 6 years ago. But sorry, that was a really long answer to the question, do you use Fiverr? But I would, as much as possible, recommend trying to make a couple things with a couple clients for a long period of time for as much money as possible, rather than like hustling for like 100, $10 gigs.
I see. All right, thank you.
Hi, Rain Adams here. I have a question. How do you keep pumping out the content or the next idea or what you're going to put out next?
Oh, so this is something I addressed in that YouTube video I sent.
Right.
I have this temptation. Anytime I get an idea, I start to fixate on it and it sort of becomes my only idea. And then I start to worry that if I am not doing it in the fullest possible, biggest version of the idea, it's ruined. It's like, this is the only idea I have. So if I don't, make a feature film out of this idea, who am I? Right. I've ruined it. My one shot. This has proved true for me time and time again. The moment I'm done with it, I have another idea. It's like instant. Literally, that last project, that YouTube video I was working on for like 8 weeks, just like a little time here and there. I'm like, this is my only thing I've done all year. The moment I posted it, like 3 more came to me and I was like, oh, I'm going to chase that rabbit for a little bit. So in terms of idea generation, the more you can finish things, as bad as they feel, you're going to feel like, oh, this is not what I wanted it to be. But if you can just finish it, send it out there, say it's done. In my experience, doing things creates more things.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question for you, Zach. I love how you've been talking about, just getting the thing done, taking action. I like, think about it as taking your reps. So if you're training for something, I don't know, weights, for example, it's better to pick up the lightest weight and just do a few reps than try to pick up the heaviest weight, ruin your arm, and you can't do anything for a long time. And you don't get any feedback. You're too sore. You won't train for a week and you've lost all your progress. I would recommend getting started on your videos today because, and I want to ask you this question, Zach, how long, if you were to think about brainstorming, filming and editing, which part takes the longest and which part would you recommend? Sorry, what I want to say is, yes, what's your experience with how long it takes to edit as a consideration with our expo coming up in a couple of weeks?
Especially when you first start, editing is going to take forever. I have found that editing takes as long as I have. It takes the amount of time that I have to take. If I've got an hour to edit, it'll take me an hour. If I have a week to edit, it'll take me a week. So you can trim that down with as much prep as possible. So the better I get at preparing, the shorter editing becomes. So you can do some of that work on the front end by starting to script, storyboard, figure out that stuff in advance. Maybe even open up some of the software and just sort of like start to see what the tools are so you can get a little sense of, okay, here's about what I can do. But yeah, in terms of time, it's especially your first time creating any of these, it's going to take, in my experience, my personal creative project process is it just takes forever. especially if you have any sense of perfectionism, if you have any sense of like, this is my one shot. So yeah, I would say start early. You know, accept the fact that start ruining it is sort of what I sometimes tell people. Like, as you're editing it, you're gonna go, oh, this could be better. That's okay. Like, ruin it. Just keep running through it. The more you do it, the more you cut it up, the more you chop stuff out, the better. But yeah, in terms of really practical, like, hour counts, I would say if I were in your shoes, again, don't stress too much about this, but I would probably set aside a good hour to write a first draft, a good second hour later to sort of edit it, as much as a half day to sort of shoot and gather all of your content. You'd be surprised how much, you start sort of, I start like redoing my hair and like if I'm going to be in it at all and trying to frame shots differently. And then after that, I would say like multiple days to edit. If you have the time, like 2 or 3 like days of like, well, I went to a coffee shop. Well, you can't do that now, but I sat in my room for 4 hours. I worked on it. Okay, I need a break. I sat in my room for 4 hours. I worked on it. Okay, I need a break. Like multiple sessions like that. So like, do you guys have a week to finish everything?
So we're trying to get the first edits done in the next week. So to get everybody going. But yes, we're going to have everything loaded up at least 3 days before our virtual event, which will be on May the 14th. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would say a week is a good amount of time to give yourself, like, to get that first draft done. That's a great amount of time. But also, this is the middle of a pandemic. So if any of you have if you need to take a mental health day, everything is crazy. Nobody alive has experienced something like this. So if it takes you 6 months to finish anything, that is okay. we are all working slowly and having some mental health days. So take them as you need them.
So a lot of students in this program, as well as students in general, are perfectionists. So can you give any advice to our perfectionists in the crowd on a time constraint to produce these? Thanks, Zach. Nice to see you as well, buddy.
Hey, great to see you. Yeah, I wish this was in person, but it's
I know.
Time constraint.
No, for the perfectionism,
and hard deadlines are good. External deadlines are good. So if it's like, well, I'll do this thing for myself as much as possible. This is really good. Having, an event date is going to be really good for you. I would say the thing I'm really experiencing personally right now is saying out loud, I'm going to ruin this. Like, by doing this, I will mess it up, because how it looks in your head is never how it's going to look on paper. I do think, and I have not been a professional for long enough, based on the fact that I've seen films that seem perfect, and I've seen artwork from, people who have been doing art for decades. It's like, okay, there's a point at which maybe you can start to make something really match that vision in your head. But I think that is a multiple decades experience when it comes to art creation. I cannot say that from personal experience. Everything I've created, I think, is bad. So if you see something and you're like, well, he did it, I did not. I think what I showed you is not good. So all I can say is get an external deadline, talk to somebody else, have somebody else look at it and ruin it. And, listen to read a couple good comments. Once you send that out there and a couple people say they like it, I think it's totally okay to take a moment and feel some satisfaction and go, they liked it. And that was my goal. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. And one other question from me is, at this point, because of the pandemic, is too polished of a product or a video, could that work against you? You know what I mean? Like, it looks like you've hired someone to create this 1-minute pitch, unless you are a videographer and that's your business, or you're in the creative arts. Like, is it too polished? Does it just not resonate with people right now?
Oh, there are definitely some, anytime I see a video that it's like, Grubhub, we support local businesses, and it's obviously like shot, I'm like, this had better be old recycled footage. Because if you like made a video crew go to a restaurant to, compromise their safety, like, bad. Yeah, no, yeah, all I have to say, Matt, I do think you have a point. I think being authentic is going to be the most important thing always, but especially during this period. If it's a good idea and it's you on your webcam just saying a good idea, I think that is valuable to people at this point. So.
Awesome. That's great advice.
Sorry, so the last time that you spoke to our class, like you spoke about imposter syndrome, and I know that like a lot of us aren't super comfortable with like getting up in front of people and like pitching, like doing like these videos that we have to do. So like how would like you combat that? And is there like something that like you tell yourself where it's like you belong here, or like some tips that you have to kind of like make yourself feel more comfortable when you're doing something out of your comfort zone?
Absolutely. That is a big question that I have been trying to answer for 10 years and will be answering for the next, hopefully 60, right? I hope I get a good long life. I don't know. I will say, I think that presentation I gave, the Wikipedia article for imposter syndrome, occasionally I read, because knowing that something is so widespread, it's just on Wikipedia, is often for me a certain kind of validating to go. It's not even like it's not even like on a mental health website. Like, it's so normal. Wikipedia is like, here's a thing, you know, like Montreal has a Wikipedia page, and so does the way you feel right now. So the first thing I do is really try and normalize it and accept that. Practice can help. So like I did a lot of theater in high school, and that helped me a lot sort of get out of my comfort zone. But I do regularly remind myself that the important thing is just showing up. I think that was pretty much the whole point of that talk I gave, is just being there is enough. Just being there is important. And I think you just sort of have to find who you need to hear that from to sometimes get through the project. For me, sometimes it's myself. For me, sometimes it's like a person in my life who's like, you know, I'm glad you're here, and that helps me get through the day. So practice your stuff, normalize that like feeling, and also connect as much as possible either with yourself or with a person who can sort of help you, you know, feel a little bit more comfortable. But also, it's just going to be awkward. Something I have to remind myself is like, I am watching everything that I do, but when I watch YouTube, I put it on my TV and then I play a game on my phone. Like, I'm never watching Netflix. You know, I'm like always doing another thing. And that's the way most people are actually going about. No one's critiquing you the same way you are yourself. So hopefully that helps. Again, that's a question I'm still answering for myself, but I think it's those few things.
Sure, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the crowd? Either how do you even get started with storyboarding and mapping out your idea, anything at all to get you started today? So just a reminder for those in the St. Joe program, you have a 30 to 45 second video due tonight at 7 p.m. talking about your Startup Moxie experience. So for those who haven't started, is there anything that there's a hurdle in the way that you can't get started that Zach could answer today? Anything at all that can help. I'm going to open it up to the floor.
So I have a question about, so like not the testimonial, about the booth thing. So could you like go over like what you want to see out of that with Zach, and then maybe have Zach give like some tips about maybe how he'd do it or something?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the talk, Zach actually went through those key components. So I'll let him as well add to this, but the point of the booth is an opportunity to showcase what you're working on, whether that is your startup, your innovation project, your nonprofit. And so again, with everything that we've been leading up with, to talk about that problem, how you're solving it, and how your customer's life is going to be improved afterwards. So you really want to showcase that through that 1 minute video. The way that you do it and your creativity is up to you on how you want to connect with your audience. But if we think about who is likely to attend our virtual expo, it's going to be members of the community, your school, your parents, potentially global because of our now partnership with South Bend Lions. So in terms of, we're just going through our investor pitches, that's different. You know, our pitches to investors have a different purpose. Now you're pitching to the wider community. So Zach, do you want to jump in on there? And as Zach said, he's got this all on his website that we can share with you afterwards.
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I think it would mostly just be underscoring things from my presentation, but I'm trying to put myself honestly in all of your shoes as, you know, trying to present this culmination, this big project you've been working on, and you have to do two things, which is potentially for the first time, you know, really try and present a capstone project, you know, in front of an audience, which can feel intimidating. You have to do that first thing alongside with the other first thing we're all learning, which is how to do it like this. So I think, honestly, can I give pandemic specific advice? I would, something I mentioned, which I will just give a little story about, is that this is the first time for everybody dealing with anything like this. I have an acquaintance who is a law professor at Notre Dame, and we were chatting on a Zoom call like this, but he was mentioning that some of his coworkers had been emailing their students saying things like, you know, no deadlines are moved. There's not going to be any relaxation on quality or whatever when it comes to what you produce or when you produce it, because as law students at Notre Dame, you are all supposed to be prepared for something like this. And he confronted some of them personally. You know, he didn't like email their students separate from them, but he virtually sat down with them and said, that is just not true, in that nobody anywhere has ever experienced anything like this. And there is none of us have ever had an asterisk in our brain that says, perhaps I should be prepared to reformat everything about my life, from my morning routine to my social interactions, to my mental health, to my physical health, to what my job is, to how I communicate it. They're just, it's infinite. And he's like, he sort of said to them, like, we're not doing well. Like, you and me, we're not good professors right now. We're sort of figuring this out. And so he sort of got a couple of his professors to change their tone and add a little bit of understanding into how they're communicating. And so I think there's sort of this external pressure that is actually from an internal place, which is this has to be the best it can be. But the reality is you are doing two very hard things simultaneously. One is learning how to present this project, and the other is learning how to present this project like this. And there is already so much grace for that first one when it comes to doing, you know, as much as you can in a mostly juniors and seniors, right? In that sort of framework, but then also to add in this entirely new, again, it's not just how you're doing school, it's how we're doing everything. So all that to say, get creative, don't be afraid to take risks, and also give yourself some grace to go, this might be weird, this doesn't feel right, that's okay. Nothing feels right, nothing feels normal. So that would be the only thing I would want to underscore and add to as you're putting your project together.
Thank you.
Great, so we're just coming up on 12 p.m. So maybe chance for one more question. Otherwise, yeah, well, if anybody has one more question.
Laura, you said you're recording this and you'll send it to this group, or you'll send it to all the class, or what's the plan with that, just so that everyone knows?
Yes, so after this is finished recording, Zach has given us permission to share, so I will be putting it onto an unlisted link on YouTube, so we'll all have access to that, as well as any of the other information Zach's kindly curated for us. So I hope to have that out by the end of today, if not tomorrow, and we'll share out the link so everybody's got this information. On top of that, Matthew's actually created more of a guideline as well of the booths and what you can cover in your video, so as we've all talked about, yeah, we just do the best with what we've got, and that's okay. Like, we're not, you know, just have fun with it too. Like, this is a cool time to learn new skills, new tools, maybe learn something or try something you've never done before, and, you know, and reframe it like, hey, I have this opportunity to maybe do something and create something awesome. So, but yes, we'll get it. We're in pandemic time, so that's all I'll emphasize. Just do the best you can, and that's the end of it, really. So with that, I would thank you so much, Zach, for spending your morning with us. Super helpful tips, and you've got us all on a good start to getting to think about how we might approach this project. And yeah, thank you again, and I hope all is well over at South Bend Transpo, and your family and everyone's well. So thank you again, we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And yeah, that link already has all the video software stuff on it. There were a couple things I added that I'm still adding to the link, but it'll be finished in like 30 minutes. It'll be totally updated.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
You too. Have a good day.
That was a good showing.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah, I'm excited to hang on. I will press.